Hi, and welcome to the Valley Forge log number 9, and this video heralds the 0.2 release. So now there's a goal. You can get in there and destroy all 20 drone factories. There's unlimited respawns, and the drones don't quite target the Valley Forge properly yet, so you can't lose. What has changed? The first thing you'll notice is the map now has a large number of rocks scattered around. This is a predetermined set of rocks. I don't have a way to procedurally place those out into the world at world creation time yet, but that's going to be coming sometime soon. They use a new tool that I developed for generating terrain, which I call Groundhug. No matter where they put, they will try to attach down to the ground, and they'll have a bury setting where they can try to embed themselves in the ground so you can't see up underneath the models. I've added a true reticule which shows what your currently selected piece of equipment is actually aiming at. So whether it's the drill, rifle, or if you're using one of the Valley Forge's main guns, you'll be able to see roughly where the shot will be hitting rather than just looking at the center of the screen dot. When you're in seats, there's a holster function for the player now, which puts away your equipment so you don't accidentally shoot yourself in the foot. On the editor side, I've added @icons plugin. It doesn't have any effect on the output of the project, but I had fun implementing it. It's nice to have those colorful icons in the scene tree. Makes it easier to spot the different parts that I'm looking for. I've almost completely rewritten the item handler because I was having endless trouble with stack and split. Sometimes the way that it would try to balance or split was getting reversed, and the code was all over the place. Now the main code for the item movements belongs to the handheld class, and the only thing that belongs to the inventory or the item slot or the player is their narrow set of interactions that only they can do. This has fixed some long-standing bugs, but I still have a couple of instances where click drags end early, but I think that's an input issue rather than a problem with the item handler. Highline Interactive has become its own class. I've moved it out of the player and the mech. Instead of generating the shape every single time the interactive raycast goes over the one, it generates it once and hides it when it's not in use. This prevents a slight stutter when you drag over multiple items or the same item on and off very quickly. I've added a new global class which is called Game Overlord, and this is my enemy manager. Currently it only spawns in new factories when the last one's been destroyed, but I've got ideas about how enemies will cluster and react in groups, and that'll work better if they don't have to talk directly to one another. Alright, new things. We have Mech version 2. I threw out a bunch of things in a refactor. Bones and position for the torso, arms, and canopy were all cleared. They now use code to manipulate where they're pointing. As a result, the model now has a lot of junk data, which I fear will have me recreating a new file when the time comes to actually do a higher quality model. The mech looks up and down with the player, and it's leaned down a bit so you can see a bit more. But externally, the chassis doesn't actually move, sort of like a virtual tilt. But it's not so far leaned down that you can't see the MFDs. I've done a lot of work on the MFDs. The side ones show what is attached to each arm port, and the center one shows the overall chassis health, as well as the attached back equipment. The only back equipment at the moment is the cargo pack. The cargo pack uses the same inventory system that the player uses, which was nice that it worked so well. It cut down on the amount of work that I had to do to get this all set up quite a lot. The mech drill uses the same code as the player's drill. It just has a different size, and instead of having an external power slot, it can connect into the mech's internal power source. At the moment, it just has a set number, but in the future, I'll have it either use batteries or an internal reactor, which can be fueled up. The cargo pack you can interact with via the MFD. You can drag and drop items around in it. Using the claw arm, you can pick stuff up from the ground and then place it into the backpack. You can take stuff out of the currently selected backpack slot back into the hand. You can expose items in the backpack to the world using one button, or completely eject it out using another. Externally, the backpack has a manual override, which will cycle through the items and expose them, so you don't have to mount up to be able to get all of your loot out. The driver's seat of the Valley Forge has a collision monitor now. It's hooked up to the bumper system. They'll show yellow lights when you're in proximity to something, red lights when you're in danger of collision. The Flyer drone factory now has a open and close animation. When it dies, it has a nice special VFX, and it leaves a ruin in addition to its salvage. Factory has a pair of turrets. Those are, at the moment, they're invisible when the factory is descending from the sky, and then they just appear. But in the future, I'll have them animate into position. They now fire 3-round bursts of explosive plasma bolts. And we have our new enemy, the tank drone. It drives around using a very similar AI system to the flying drone. It uses the same bumper system as the Valley Forge, so when it runs into something, it'll choose a new destination rather than just endlessly running into rocks or things it can't get over. At the moment, I don't have it conforming to the ground because I'm not sure how the model is going to change. Over time, I'm going to have its legs act like suspension, as well as each of the track sections conforming to the level of the ground that it's traveling across. And finally, we're getting into things that were already in but were changed. The updates to the ground have been re-enabled. It turned out to be quite a simple change where instead of updating the existing collider to conform to the new shape of the ground, I would just delete and recreate it. And it turned out to not cause the same slowdown issues I was experiencing before. In doing so, I noticed that the wheels were pressing the ground incorrectly. A bit of maths didn't have parenthesis, and it was sending through a value of 0.99, no matter what the actual result was supposed to be. I have noticed that occasionally the wheels will get fully compressed and stay that way for a few seconds when they shouldn't, and I haven't figured out exactly why yet. I've tweaked the values of the sunlights to show slightly better shadows. I'm probably going to do that again several times throughout the process as the world becomes more detailed. Tweak the lights to get slightly better performance when you look at the Valley Forge from a medium to short distance. It's still not great. The next change that I have in mind is culling the total number of lights that are visible based on distance, but I haven't had a chance to do that yet. It's out of scope for 0.2. All of the drone parts now use the same base class, so the tank, the flyer, and the turrets are all have the same basis, which cut down on the amount of repeated code. The flyer drone has been changed from a rigid body into a character, and I calculate all of the physics forces on it manually. That has reduced the amount of stuttering that the game gets from big physics recalculations. I'm still getting a few, which I believe are related to the drone's sensors, which use areas, but it's kind of difficult to narrow down. I changed AI states for the drones from a component to a resource. Functionally, there's not much difference, but in the properties for the drones, I'm able to see the different drone AI sets side by side rather than having to toggle between them. The revolvers had a few fixes applied, mostly around displaying the number of empty shells. I've also added the first version of the class that shows used shell casings. It's only on the revolver so far, but I'm excited to get it on something like the turreted machine gun, which will absolutely spray them out. Handheld subslots were having some issues with their slots becoming locked or unlocked at inopportune moments. So when walking around, you could see the RPG hatch flicker sometimes. And while reloading weapons, sometimes the magazine slot would become locked. And that has been fixed now. At time of recording, I haven't been through all of the new things to make sure the network code is up to spec. I'm going to be releasing the 0.2 as a single player and patch in and do a new release soon with the multiplayer fixed all up to spec. Once the 0.2 stuff is all done, I'll be moving on to 0.3. I'll pick from my menu of things that I'd like to put in next. I've got a few things which were in 2 or I very much wanted to add, didn't believe I had the capacity to do at the time. Thanks for watching. I hope you can try it out. Let me know things that don't work, or let me know things that do work and that you're excited about, and I will see you next time.